Hey guys, what's going on? It's Capis here. Today I'm bringing you another video, this time around featuring armor stacking Witch Hunter. So this character mainly focuses on sorcery ward and armor as his main defenses. So we don't really have much in the ways of offense except for a few interesting skills that I'll get into in a bit. But for now, the amount of armor I have is around 34,000 in the hideout and somewhere around 60,000 in combat. So 60,000 armor is somewhere around 27,000 sorcery ward. So yeah, there's quite a bit of defenses there on this character. So yeah, so let's take a look at our skills. So firstly, this is the most important skills of the entire build is sorcery ward. So in case you guys don't know what sorcery ward does, it's basically a barrier. It sort of acts like a life pool slash energy shield, except for the fact that it can only take damage from elemental hits. Yeah, it is up to 30% of your armor, and that's why we're stacking so much armor to get so much sorcery ward. So the next thing we have is Defiance Banner. So Defiance Banner as a base gives us 9% more armor and evasion rating, as well as 5% increased move speed. And this is scaled up by the amount of valor that's currently on the banner. So I permanently have around 55 valor on me. As you can see, it's always 55. And this gives me somewhere around 85% more armor and 47% increased movement speed. So why are we using Defiance Banner? Defiance Banner is mostly there to scale armor, but because we're also using the skill Trails of Caltrops. Yeah, Trail of Caltrops. So this skill, what it does is every time you dodge, you drop a bunch of Caltrops on the floor, and your dodge roll is the speed of your dodge roll is dependent on your movement speed. So Defiance Banner is actually giving us defenses and our offenses at the same time. So we have Scavenge Plating as our next aura or spirit skill. So Scavenge Plating gives us 7% more armor per Scavenge Plating stack. And this stacks up to 10 times, so it's around 70% more armor. Now, Scavenge Plating has 100% uptime both in mapping and bossing. And yeah, so you don't have to worry about, this skill like dropping off. Now, comes to the damaging skills. We have our main damage ability here. And for the sockets, we have Execute, Brutality, Heft, Impale, and Scattershot. Now, Scattershot states that skills fire 2 additional projectiles. So you might think that, Caltrops, you scatter 3 Caltrops when you dodge. So there's a total of 5. But that is not the case for this skill. Each individual Caltrops is considered as a single projectile. So instead of scattering 3 Caltrops every time you dodge, you're scattering 9. So pair this with Impale, we are stacking up to 9 Impales every time we dodge roll. So now obviously this skill cannot consume the Impales by itself, but because you have 3 other setup of Caltrops, which is a total of 9 Caltrops, we have 9 Caltrops here to consume the 9 Impale from our very first setup. So yeah, so that is our main damage link. For our second setup, we have Lacerate, Incision, C-Rate, Deep Cuts, and Close Combat. So the second setup is mostly for bleed. Mostly for our bleed, and yeah, since we're scaling a bunch of phys on Caltrops and the pure phys ability, bleeds are really nice to have. And then for our third setup, this is our armor break setup. So we have Demolisher, Splinter, Armor Explosion, Salvo, and Hemo Crystals. So Hemo Crystal is the new gem that's introduced in 0.2. So what it does is it will consume a bleed that is currently on the enemy and produce 4 crystals that will explode during a hit damage. So this hit damage actually can consume impales as well. So it's really nice to have. And then for our fourth setup, we have Lightning Infusion, Lightning Pen, Conduction, Lasting Shock, and Fluke. So this is mainly for our shock. Now I'm not sure if Fluke actually works on this skill, but from my limited amount of testing, it seems to work. And then we have Seismic Cry. Now this is not really necessary, but in Seismic Cry, we actually socket Exploit Weakness in here. So why do we need Exploit Weakness? When it comes to bossing, we actually need Exploit Weakness to consume the fully broken armor so that we can reapply our armor break and get our Scavenge Plating stacks up. But the thing is, I don't want to always have it up. If I were to put it in my Caltrops, I would constantly break their armor and consume the armor break. But the thing is, armor breaks on enemies actually apply a 20% increased physical damage taken as a debuff. So pair that with shock, I have around 31% shock on this character, so it's around 51% increased damage taken on enemies. So that's really a lot of damage, and I don't want to lose out on that. And then we have shield charge with martial tempo and ingenuity. So this is just our movement ability. And finally, we have enfeeble. Now, I haven't used enfeeble in a very, very long time, but enfeeble is a really, really strong curse, a defensive curse for armor characters because of the way the damage calculation works in this game. So if you find yourself lacking in defenses, or you feel like you're taking a little bit too much damage from bosses, you can always drop enfeeble and you help out a lot when it comes to like bossing. Alright, so that's our gem setup. So let's take a look at our gear setup. So to start, we have our spear. So our spear is nothing special. The main important stats here are the base physical damage, the 5 to all projectile skills, as well as physical damage leached as mana. So we don't really care about attack speed because we are not attacking with the spear. We're just rolling. So yeah, it's nothing too expensive. And then we have Deepest Tower. Now you might notice something a little bit different with my Deepest Tower. First thing is it is not quality. And the second thing is it actually has a negative roll on the increased armor and energy shield roll. So normally the increased armor and energy shield can roll up to I think 70% to 130%, but mine is at 57%. Well, why is that the case? I will get into that in the skill tree section, but for now I just want to keep my energy shield as low as possible. Moving on to the shield, same thing, just get a bunch of armor on this, some strength to help with the gem requirement, additional physical damage reduction, and yeah, that's all you need on the shield. For the rings, very, very cheap rings. You want some resistance on it, evasion rating, this is the important one with maximum mana, some strength to help with the gems requirement, as well as dexterity. So our second ring is the same thing, very, very similar stats. So yeah, nothing too special about this. Now for the amulet, you want to take note, you want to have at least 45 spirit on the amulet and somewhere around +2 to +3 to projectile skills. This is probably the most perfect stats I can get for the prefixes, which is armor and maximum mana as well as spirit. And for the suffix, you can get projectile skills and either attributes or resistances. Yeah, so for the gloves, same thing. Get a bunch of armor and maximum mana and some resistance on it. Just to note, I bought these gloves for around 3 exalt and I slammed 2 resistances on it. So yeah, pretty cool. And then the belt. Now this is probably one of the most expensive pieces on this character. So we're using Raislata's coil. And the most important stat here is actually the more maximum physical attack damage due to the way the lucky hit works with Deepest Tower. So you want to get it to somewhere around 38 to 40% and maybe like 2 charm slots because charms are really important for this build. But due to tight budget on this character, I don't really have the option to look for one with higher charm slots. And then the boots. The boots you want move speed, a lot of armor and strength, as well as life regeneration. So life regeneration is actually really good on this character, and I'll get to why in a bit. But movement speed as well, because the speed of dodge roll relies on our movement speed stats. So yeah, you do want to get as much movement speed as available on your boots. But yeah, this is for the bossing setup. But for mapping, I usually use Trample Toe. So Trample Toe is probably one of the most OP items in the game right now, together with Deepest Tower, for especially for clear. So yeah, just slap this on and almost any build can clear, like, can just blow up the screen. So yeah, that's my gear. So let's jump into our skill tree. Alright, so to start with the skill tree, let's take a look at Ascendancy. I am choosing Witch Hunter as the Ascendancy for the Sorcery Ward. as well as Culling Strike and Decimating Strike for the other two ascendancy points. So we are pathing down here to get damage against enemies of low life. Now the most important note here is actually stars aligned, which states that damage if hits is lucky against enemies that are on low life. So this pairs extremely well with Rice Lata's Coil and the skill gem or the support gem Heft. Then pathing down here, we have our Against the Darkness that gives 11 spirit per notable. So we have two notables here that gives 11 spirit each. Oh, I forgot to mention that this character is actually a dex stacker. And so the 4 ailment threshold per dex is extremely important for this build. So moving along, we have our Iron Reflexes, which converts all our evasion rating to armor, and Leatherbound Gauntlets. So this states that it gives 1 evasion rating per 1 armor on your equipped gloves. So and that's the reason why you want to have a pure armor gloves. So this essentially gives us double the armor on the gloves. 8% evasion rating as extra armor. This is what it is. It does work, by the way, even with Iron Reflexes. Then moving on, we have our banner setup. So this is 5 maximum valor, 20 maximum valor, and 5% to all elemental resistances. So take note, this 5% to all ally res is actually scaled up by your aura magnitude. So instead of 5%, this is giving me somewhere around like 50 to 60% all elemental resistances. So this is extremely strong. Parting down here, we have physical damage and reduced maximum life. Reduced maximum life doesn't really affect us because we are playing CI, so this is a free 40%. Then moving along here, we have our Unwavering Stance, which is here, and we have damage against low life enemies and Bulwark. So just to take note, the most damaging abilities in the game are usually slams, and slams are unavoidable with dodge roll, and that's why we took Bulwark to reduce damage of slams as well while we are dealing damage with our dodge roll. Then moving along here, we get a bunch of damage here and magnitude of ailments. So magnitude of ailments actually scales up our bleed as well as our shock magnitude. Then moving here, we have resolute technique, so it doesn't miss. So we don't have to care about accuracy rating. A bunch of armor here, and the most important jewel in the entire build is our heroic tragedy. So this heroic tragedy actually turns our dexterity into increased armor. So every 2 dexterity gives us 1% increased armor, and that's why we are stacking so much dexterity. And then we're pathing up here, and we are taking Zealot's Oath. Now, do you remember previously when I mentioned about getting life regeneration on your boots, as well as a low amount of energy shield on your helmet? This is the reason why. So the excess life recovery is turned into energy shield recovery. Now you pair this with reinforced barrier. So reinforced barrier says that defend with 130% of your armor while you're not low on energy shield. So low energy shield means you're at below 35%, and with a small amount of energy shield, and pair this with covering ward. So every time we block, we get 20 energy shield. So just imagine, right now I have 66 energy shield, so 35% of this is somewhere around 23. Every single time I block, I recover 20 energy shield, and I have around 30 energy shield regeneration per second from Zealot's Oath. So essentially, every time after I block, or every second, I will always have my full amount of energy shield, and I will always have reinforced barrier up. So right now I have around 60,000 60,000 armor. So against big hits, when I have full energy shield, this treats my armor value as around 72,000, which helps a lot with like big slams, like big physical slams from like Xesht. So yeah, this is one of the interesting tech that I have to show you guys. And Sharpened Claw for a bit more damage. And yeah, Mind Over Matter as well as Chaos Inoculation. So why Chaos Inoculation? Now, do you remember that Sorcery Ward only blocks elemental damage? So you still have Chaos and physical damage to worry about. So by stacking a bunch of armor, we are taking care of our physical damage, as well as elemental damage from Sorcery Ward. That leaves Chaos damage. So that's why I'm taking Chaos Inoculation to be completely immune to Chaos damage. But this character, I've tried like running energy shield setup and stuff, but I just cannot get a comfortable amount of energy shield, and that's why I went for armor sorcery ward setup. Now, because of this, I don't have any life on my gear because life doesn't work with CI, and I can't get enough energy shield, and that's why I went with mind over matter. Now, you can get very high rolls of mana on your gear, so essentially like 150 mana roll on your gear is equivalent to like 150 life roll or 150 energy shield roll. So it's extremely potent in a build like this. So yeah, so this is the setup for my this character. Damage wise, there's a lot that I can improve on, but I haven't really got a lot of time to play. So yeah, so this is my current setup for the character. Now, of course, this character does have its weaknesses, and that is mainly damage over time due to our low amount of mana that we have to mitigate damage over time abilities, because all our armor and sorcery ward only mitigates hits and not damage over time. So against damage over time, just be prepared with your mana flask and just flask up whenever necessary. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys. This is obviously not an OP build by any means. This is just something interesting that I've been wanting to do since patch 0.1. And with all the new gears and stuff available, I thought I'll try in 0.2. If you guys enjoy videos like this, do leave a like or a sub. And if you want more like interesting build ideas and stuff, let me know in the comments below, and I'll be cooking more interesting or weird builds. And yeah, that's all for me, and I'll see you guys around.